It's that time of the year again, the Christmas season, and even though at the time this video comes out we only have 24 hours left in it, I still wanted to do something relatively Christmas related. That's why on this month of DIY prop culture builds we're going to build the wands of Voldemort and Harry Potter. Now, you might be saying, John, have you lost your mind? What does Harry Potter have to do with Christmas? Well, the answer to the first question is yes, probably. The second is a little more complicated, but put simply, I don't really know. I don't know if it's the childishly magical feel of the first few books and movies, or the fact that much of the second act of each of the books takes place around Christmas, but something in my brain screams Christmas when I think about Harry Potter. It also may have something to do with the fact that when I was in middle school, I was really into Harry Potter, and my parents would get my brother and I wand replicas for the holidays as one of our gifts. No joke, there was a whole company built around the idea of making wand replicas, and by extension, prop replicas from Harry Potter and other movies. Their wands were really cool because they'd come in an Ollivander's box, which, if you watch the first movie, you'll know how cool of a detail that is. So in this month, I'm not just building the wands of the two titular characters of Harry Potter, but also their wand boxes, that each of them come in if you ordered the Real Noble Collection wand back in the day. For materials for the wands, you will need a wooden dowel, modeling clay, paints, and Mod Podge. We'll start off with Harry's wand. According to the book, Harry's wand is 11 inches long, but that's way shorter than it's really portrayed in the movie. If you look up the dimensions of the replica, you'll see that it's 14 inches long instead. Also, I just measured the replica that I had. You can do that too. After you cut the dowel to length, you use the modeling clay to form the handle and the shaft. There's this slanted bit that I can only describe as a sleeve of wood, maybe, that goes partway up the shaft. And the bottom is made to look like natural tree bark that knots up at the top and bottom of the handle. It's very important to pay attention to the fine details of this part, but not super important to get them all in one go. I modeled different parts on different days and used my knife and Dremel tool to carve the details into the clay once it had dried. Before you paint it, it's important to sand down the wand to make the textures more uniform. But make sure you don't sand out the textures entirely. This will help the details and the paint job stand out better. Now, as I noted in the video where I made the Elder Wand, the way Harry Potter wands are painted varies widely throughout the films and other media. I have 3 replicas here. One of them is one that I made in high school, one is a Noble Collection wand, and the other is from the theme park in Florida. Yeah, I was a bit obsessed when I was a kid. But funnily enough, the paint job that I did on my own replica is way closer to what was advertised on their site.
I don't know if it's nothing personal. It's probably just because I'm better than you.
All joking aside, I painted the wand in several layers. First a plain black layer, and then a layer that was a mix of barn red, dark brown, and black. I didn't measure out the parts, but I went heavier on the red than the other paints. I then used a black and brown mix to make the details of the wood grain down the shaft. And the same mixture with some hints of orange, green, and gray for the bark on the handle. The color variations are very subtle, as that's kind of the point with this wand. After it dried, I used Mod Podge to gloss the wand, and after that dried, it gave it a very polished dark wood sort of look. Now on to Voldemort's wand. Again, it's not 13 inches as it says in the book, but 14 inches. Whittle the thickness of this wand down as well. Give the shaft a more harsh and sharp angle as opposed to the mild rounded tip of Harry's wand. Like the last one, take the clay and model the handle of the shaft. Voldemort's wand has the same sleeve section that Harry's does, but with blackened spots instead of a semi-faceted surface. It's a neat little detail that they have because these wands are supposed to be twins in the book, so that gives them some cool visual similarity. The handle, of course, looks like a rather malformed bone talon thing, and with the ivory hue of the wand, it makes it look really menacing. This part was actually a bit challenging since the shape is surprisingly intricate, and unlike the last one, I don't have the official replica of Voldemort's wand. After you sand it down, paint the wand. For the base color, I used the ivory paint, and then I went over the certain areas with a darker mix of ivory, yellow, and light brown. This both separates the sections of the wand and highlights the areas of texture that gives the wand a rotten bone-type look. I painted the spotted section with bits of black paint. The funny thing about this wand is I was never a really huge fan of it on screen, but now that I've made it and I can actually hold it in my hand, I realize that I really like it. I know, hot take. I used the Mod Podge to give it a glossy wood polish surface. Now onto the Ollivander's style boxes. For these, you will need a foam sheet, cardboard, velvet material, ribbon, and paint. I traced out the dimensions of the boxes onto the cardboard, and then cut them out and folded them into shape. Once I did that, I cut out strips of foam and applied them to the insides. Make sure there is enough relative space to fit each wand. Voldemort's box will need more space towards the end, as it's wider. The boxes diverge at this point. For Harry's box, I used red velvet to line the inside, and then dark brown paint to paint the cover. I also used the Mod Podge here to gloss it, and then I used a blue ribbon to make the veil inside of the box. For Voldemort's wand box, use black velvet and black ribbon. You sensing a pattern here? I also painted the cover black. Because I couldn't find the box end stickers online, I copied them from reference and then glued them to the boxes. And there you go. You have your very own replica of Harry Potter and Voldemort's respective wands. So it's relatively easy to make these wands, and it's super cheap. Since I already had the clay and only had to pay for the dowels and paints, this build cost me under $10. And with each dowel you can make 2 or 3 wands, so you're realistically looking anywhere between $2.50 and $10 to make a wand. If you need clay and Mod Podge, it may bump it up to 20 to 25-ish, but that's a relatively one-time expense. Thank you all so much for watching. If you built along, tag me in a social media post, or make a video response. If you have a prop suggestion, then leave it in the comments below. And if you like this video and want to see more like it, then subscribe and turn on the bell to get notified when I upload next.